Hello, everyone. I am Sammy Rae of Sammy Rae and the Friends. I'm here with Seabass on percussion and Will on guitar.
Hey.
And this first tune is called For the Time Being. I got what I've been needing for the time being, but it could change, it could change, it could change. I got this thing in my hand now. I think that I finally understand now. And I got this love in my life now. But it could change, it could change, it could change. Yeah. I got what I've been needing for the time being. I got what I've been needing for the time being. And I got what I've been needing for the time being. But it could change, it could change, it could change. Hey. I got this thing in my hand now. I think that I finally understand now. And I got this love in my life now. But it could change, it could change, it could change. Hey! It could change, it could change, it could change. Ooh, and I got what I've been needing for the time being. And I got what I've been needing for the time being, for the time being. I got what I've been needing for the time being, yeah. But it could change, it could change, it could change. For the time being, I got what I've been needing for the time being, yeah. It could change, it could change, it could change, it could change, it could change. Oh, and I got what I've been needing for the time being. I got what I've been needing for the time being, for the time being. I got what I've been needing for the time being. And it could change, it could change, it could change. Hey! It could change, it could change, it could change. I got what I've been needing for the time being. Yeah, I got what I've been needing for the time being, for the time being. I got what I've been needing for the time being. Yeah, and it could change, it could change, it could change. Yeah, it could change, it could change, it could change. Yeah, and it could change, it could change, it could change. Yeah, it could change, it could change. Oh, and it could change, it could change, it could change. It could change, it could change, it could change. Oh, la 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 la. It could change, it could change, it could change. Okay, this is the game of that song has a lot of words that I haven't sang since that's the UK.
Exactly. And you can't look at me for them because I probably
I'm
won't
not,
know.
I would never in my life. Oh, I gotta sing the horns here too.
Cool, ready?
I'm ready. Okay, here we go. This
You
next.
want to count it off?
Do you want to count? Oh, Seabass is gonna count this one off.
Like in the show.
Like in the show. This is interesting. This three-piece situation in this little room. It's very different, but Seabass is going to count this one off.
I got it.
This is a song called Talk It Up. And we've been playing this song for a very long time. It's on our first EP called The Good Life.
Here we go. 1, 2, a 1, 2. Here we go.
Smoky walls, dusty halls, no one calls, and all the window plants are dying. She talk it up, half empty cup, half-hearted love, half of the time, halfway through crying. She don't live here by herself, sleeping in a bed she's made, reading books about self-help, working late on Saturdays, unless she got something at stake. Ooh, for heaven's sake, keep him awake and make no mistake. He break down daily with no warning. Yeah, 20 years old, do as you're told, get bought and sold, and it's cold this early in the morning, and he's living on 10th Street, getting around dawn every night of every week, proving everybody wrong. Any day now, it won't be long. Listen, I say, don't just stop it now. Give them all what they came here for. Never been done the same before. Talk it until your face gets sore. Don't just stop it now. Come on, half a mile and we'll see the shore. Captain, how can you be so sure? Talking of what I came here for. Ooh, na 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 na. I've been holding my own, my reggae bone. I look up alone and I don't forget to double check it. My tie, lace my own bubbles and lace my own jacket. You see, I did the best I could. I got taken down again. I got fire in my blood and sugar on my skin. I got no place to begin. Listen, I say, don't just stop it now. Give them all what they came here for. Never been done the same before. Talking until your face gets sore. Don't just stop it now. Have a lot of people see the shore. Can you be so sure? Talk it up. So you get what you put in, so you cannot get upset. You're just dipping your foot in, 'cause you don't wanna get wet, and you ain't ready fit yet. Yeah, don't you stop it. Give them all what they came here for. Never been done the same before. Don't you stop it now. Come on, a half a mile and we'll see the shore. Captain, how can you be so sure? I'm talking of what I'm doing it all for. Don't just stop it now. Oh, no, 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 no. It's never been done the same. Talk it until your face gets sore. Don't you stop it now. A half a mile and we'll see the shore. Captain, how can you be so sure? Talking of what I came here for. Don't you stop it now. Whoa. It now, come on, a half a mile and we'll see the shore. Captain, how can you be so sure? Talking up what I came here for. Yes.
Yes, that was fun.
That was fun.
Work.
I don't think we've ever done that in the trio acoustic setup
We
before.
We've always done it with the
Oh,
quartet.
that's the new that's the one now.
That's it.
Now we know.
Top tier crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, James, this is a top tier crew right here, okay?
Okay. That's a shout out to James.
James is listening.
James back at home.
You're
Somebody's gotta hold down the fort.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun.
All right. Sorry, also, it's the peak antihistamine season right now, so I'm sneezing a little bit. Will's tuning. Seabass is just gonna get right into the... Wow. This is crazy. This is the first time we've played Friends tunes in like a couple months since we've been on the road.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, and to hear that shaker, my body was just like, oh God.
Last night.
Deep breath, girl, because we're about to get into the hard-hitting section of the set. Literally.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. You're just gonna keep.
All right. You want to say the song again?
Yeah, totally.
Should I stop or?
No, you should keep on going.
What's that sound?
Yeah.
let's go.
What is that sound?
better work.
Seabass's banana shaker.
Exactly.
This is a tune called "Follow Me Like the Moon," and we love it so much we named a whole tour after it.
Woo.
And let's just get into it.
Hey.
Oh man, how am I gonna start this one? Don't stop.
Just sing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is a very saxophone heavy song. We haven't got saxophone, so I'm just gonna pretend. Ready? It's getting late and now the moon is rising and I can't stop looking at it, can't stop thinking about it, can't set it straight, no, I just can't place it and I can't erase it and I can't stop thinking about it. Oh, what a scene when you can't seem to say what you mean. Oh, what a shame when you've only got yourself to blame. And I try to shake it out and then I try to sleep it out, and you still follow me like the moon, and then you follow me like the moon. Then I try to shake it off, then I try to sleep it off. You still follow me like the moon, and then you follow me like the moon. It's getting late, it's been a real hard fall, I don't forget it all, and now I can't stop thinking about it. Gotta clear my plate, I'm trying to break the habit, then I'm right back at it, but I can't stop thinking about it. Oh, what a scene when you can't seem to say what you mean. Ooh, what a shame when you only got yourself to blame, and I try to shake it out, and then I try to sleep it out, and you still follow me like the moon, and then you follow me like the moon. Then I try to shake it off, then I try to sleep it off. You still follow me like the moon, and then you follow me like the moon. Saxophone, hey. Making this on the back of my neck, stained up. Little more than less, but a little bit less than love. Ooh, feels bad when it's unrequited. Feels bad to not feel invited. Ooh, then I try to shake it off, then I try to sleep it off. You still follow me like the moon, you still follow me like the moon, and then I try to shake it off, then I try to sleep it off, and you still follow me like the moon, and then you follow me like the moon, and then I try to shake it off, then I try to sleep it off, but you still follow me like the moon, and you follow me like the moon, then I try to shake it off, then I try to sleep it off, but you still follow me like the moon, and then you follow me like the moon. Oh. follow me like the moon. You still follow me like the moon. And then I try to shake it off. Then I try to sleep it off. You still follow me like the moon. Then you follow me like the moon. Do it again.
This is how we end our radio show right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Exactly. This is our button, all right?
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Guys, we should start a band. We
Wow,
sound really
we
good
should-
together.
We should jam sometime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You are listening to WNYU, WNYU 89.1 and WNYU.org, and I am here in the basement with Sammy Rae, Seabass, and Will of Sammy Rae and the Friends. How you guys doing?
So
We're
good.
Thank you guys so much for coming in. First of all, you just heard 3 of their unbelievable songs, and I am just so happy to have you guys here.
Oh my gosh.
Just good energy in the room.
Good
We're
to
happy
be
to be
here.
here.
So happy to
Good to
have
be
you guys here. However, we are missing a couple.
We're missing a couple.
We're missing
Yeah.
a couple.
Yeah.
And there's a pretty substantial number of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how you don't have to give the story of like how every single person met each individual person, but like how did y'all meet and start working together?
So there's roughly 28 of us.
Of course.
There's actually 7 of us. And we are 3 today. The short answer is we all met on the New York City music scene in some sort of capacity. And I think chronologically I met James first at like a straight ahead jazz gig, and he introduced me to Max. I met Seabass in like the kids music circuit. I met Will because he was another singer songwriter, and I spent the first like 2 years I was in New York just going to a lot of like open mics and jam sessions and seeing all the music that I could. I spent a lot of time at like Rockwood and Bowery Electric, and you just start to see players more than once and be like, oh, that, bassist is killing. And I saw him last week playing with somebody else. And then just kind of, we got to know each other, started asking people to coffee. And then we all just became a band.
Became the Friends.
Yeah, the Friends.
And there's such a quintessential sound to the Friends. If y'all were listening, just very free flowing, very like jazzy funk, classic, just all. I feel like there's no real way. There's no like great one word to describe it. But how would you describe your sound to someone listening for the first time?
Literally, I get this question in every single interview, and I never have an answer. There's something for everybody, I think. Something for everyone. And I guess if I had to boil it down to like one statement, it's a culmination of all of our separate influences, because we all come from different sort of studies and worlds of music and different places all over the world. And we all grew up on different sorts of music. I think our sound is the product of us all really making active space to listen to each other and be informed by each other. Because when Seabass shows up, right, the groove suddenly has this like Latin feel, this like world undertone. When JQ shows up, there's this funk element and also this world element that comes in. And when Will shows up on guitar, we start rocking a little harder. And I think it's just the product of us all having spent so many years learning from and influencing each other's sound and making space for everybody to offer what it is that they're really good at, that we've just learned how to like, Seabass's idea is the best idea on this one. Let's defer to what Seabass is doing. Let's follow him. Let's follow what Kellen's doing here. Let's follow what Max is doing here. Let's follow what Debbie's doing here. But yeah, I think it's a culmination of all of our different influences and the product of us spending, at this point, like 5 years learning from and being informed by each other's influences and areas of expertise.
Yeah, I would say that Sam does a wonderful job of allowing us to be completely ourselves, like on the bandstand and off the bandstand. And so, like, what you hear is what you get, like 100%. Like, I could be my full self musically, Will can be, and we come from completely different backgrounds, all of us, every single one of us, and we can be that wholeheartedly with Sammy Rae and the Friends.
Yeah. And I think I don't know, we always just joke and we're like, when you hear it, and we're always like working on something, we're like, oh, that's that Friends.
Right.
That's
right,
that friend.
Right, exactly.
There's this little, and there's things that we've picked up over all these years of going back to the studio that have become cornerstone parts of our sound. Like hand percussion's a big one. There's a lot of like bell tones and like finger cymbals that you hear in just about every song. There's a lot of gang vocals. There's a lot of like double saxophone lines.
String arrangements now too.
String arrangements. There's a couple of things that we all kind of, even though we come from different preferences and different studies, there's a handful of things that we know work really well in the setting of this project, and we all kind of gravitate towards those things.
I love all of that.
Yes.
That's and like you said, you can be your each of you can be your full selves.
Yes.
Like while you're on and off the bandstand, and that is so that shows. That shows absolutely, especially in like not just the shows and not just your own, not just the music that you guys release, but in the fan base that you guys have cultivated.
Oh, that's
It's
nice.
really. I've noticed it's more like a family. It's not like you guys are up here and everyone else is down. It's really collaborative, communicative, and I think that's fantastic.
Thanks.
And while it does take a while to build, you said you guys have been going together for about 5 years, maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
Was there, and each of you can have something different, was there ever like an aha moment or like a specific thing you were like, oh, I like that. That works. That sounds good. Where you're like, where you realize like this group is something special.
I feel like it's every day. Like every day I feel like an aha moment like with this group.
That's
And
nice.
It truly is best show every show. Like
Yeah.
every time that we play, every time that we record, like yeah, even when we lay it into the cans, like that's the best thing that I've ever played. Like every single thing that we do. And I don't know why. I don't know how that ends up happening because it's not like that with other projects. It's just consistently like that.
I think maybe for me, one of the aha moments I can pinpoint is when we added Debbie Chong to the band on keys. The first time we ever had a keys player in the band. And it all of a sudden, it was just like this moment where it felt like, oh, like we found the core lineup of the band. Because there was a lot of transitions over the year, different people coming and going. And this was kind of like right when we started really touring at post-pandemic. And we never really toured that much prior to 2020, only a couple like weekends here and there. So kind of we had this moment where Debbie joined the band and played our biggest show in New York City ever, like the next week, Brooklyn Steel.
Yeah.
Right.
And that to me was like an aha moment when we were on stage with her, Brooklyn Steel, and it just felt like balanced, the energy on stage, and we just kind of have taken that same show and really ran with it and evolved over the last 2 years. So
That was definitely a big gig for all of us,
Yeah, totally. And Debbie just brings this like fun and this joy, but she also is such a professional.
Yeah.
And she hadn't really toured hard like that either. And we were all kind of learning how to be full-time on the road at the same time together, but Debbie brought this sense of professionalism because she's just played with like everybody and their cousin for every stage in New York, and she was just so adaptable, and her energy really helped us transition into that point of playing really hard. And to go back to your original question, there's one of those moments with everybody in this project where it's like, okay, this is the thing. And kind of just to speak to what's in front of me, this is a funny story, so I like to tell it, but I met Seabass. I was singing with another group, and we were at this kind of concert series thing where different bands are paired up, and I saw another band leader playing, and Seabass was on percussion. I was like, man, that dude is really good. And then that drummer is really good. And then that band leader, we met afterwards, and he was like, I have this random gig where I play music for kids, and I'm leaving. Do you want to replace me on keys? And I was like, yeah, totally. So totally unbeknownst to me, I show up to work, and I realize I'm going to be spending 5 days a week playing music with Seabass, that drummer that I had just met, and a guitarist. And it was really in this like low-key, simple music environment where I was playing with Seabass all the time, but he would look at me and say stuff like, okay, when we get to like so-and-so nursery rhyme today, like think about it in 5 or whatever. and I remember connecting with him that I thought he was such a powerful person, but also that we had this real potential as musicians. And I was like, let's see if this works in like real world music. And I was like, oh my God, that's my drummer.
You know, I feel like everybody has those moments where they say, oh, that's my person. I remember meeting Will and realizing first that he was a singer-songwriter and that also he could play guitar. And singing with him, I was like, oh, that's my guitarist, duh. But also, that's my songwriting friend. We write similar sorts of songs. We approach it in similar ways. And it was the same thing when I met JQ, and the same thing when we met Debbie, and the same thing when we had Kellen, and then Max showed up. It was like, oh yeah, you are supposed to be the alto and sax player of this project because of the way you play with everybody else and the way you play together. So yeah, all the aha moments live in, I think, us meeting each other and realizing that it was almost like, yeah, we sound great. And then somebody else would show up and be like, that's the missing piece. And then somebody else would show up and be like, wait, now it's even better.
Right.
But it's, yeah, 7 is a sweet spot, I think. We don't have very much room in the van we're running out of space for anybody else, so.
You found like not holes, but like areas that could be filled in ways that you didn't even realize.
A sensational 7, if you will.
Yes.
Ooh, I like
us.
that. I like
Thanks.
that a
I like
lot.
that
Sammy
too.
Rae and the Sensational.
Sammy Rae and the Sensational Seven.
Yeah, that's like our like early Beatles era like doo-wop group.
Right,
Sammy Rae and the
actually, yeah.
Sensational 7.
There's a lot of step touch.
Yeah, a lot of step touch, a lot of step
Yeah.
touch. That's that. Okay. Yeah, you got it. We're already there. Yeah.
We unknowingly just started another side
We
project.
literally started a
Exactly.
band. Oh man.
Going back to, you mentioned this songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
What got you started in it, and just what got you started in that in general?
I was a child. I was a little baby.
Hmm.
I have my earliest memories of writing songs when I was like 12. And I started to there was like this inciting incident where my dad like introduced me to Bruce Springsteen and like Billy Joel and Fleetwood Mac and stuff, but I was starting to watch some of these. My dad was always have like MTV and VH1 on, and I would see these artists talk about their lyrics and explain the meaning behind the lyrics, and I kind of just like clocked this thing that was like, oh my God, songwriting is like talking about your feelings in secret code, and nobody really knows what you're saying unless they get the privilege of listening to you explain it to them. So suddenly when I was like 12, with my 12-year-old feelings as big as they could be, I realized that I could like express myself without being too vulnerable through writing lyrics. And I remember I was like 13, I wrote this song called Guess Who Doesn't Like You Very Much. And it was about this girl I didn't like in school because she was mean. And then I wrote this song called like Benjamin, which was a love song to this kid I had a crush on in 3rd grade, which I thought was interesting because his name wasn't Benjamin. I changed his name, and I thought that was very songwriter of me. But yeah, I was little. I was like an early teen. And I was kind of picking up instruments as fast as I could and trying to figure out how to demo out these things with the very limited capability and like equipment that I had. And then I kind of didn't write as hard in high school, or when I did, I was kind of by myself. And then once I got to college, I started like collaborating with other musicians and realizing, oh, you play guitar and I'll sing. You play keys and I'll sing. I'll play keys and you write the lyrics. So it started when I was definitely a little kid. And then once I got like college age is when I started trying to develop songs and realized, oh, I should get a band in the loop. Then I came to New York when I was 19, and I was like, it's time for me to find a band. And that started the let's make songs with a band process. Yeah.
Will, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of similar. I kind of started when I was pretty young, like 13. I think when you're that young, you have less inhibitions in a way. So if you get the idea into your head that like, oh, like I could do that. For me, particularly, I was like listening to the Beatles, got like obsessed with the Beatles. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I probably wrote like 20, 30, mediocre songs. And then, but just going through that process of being like, oh, I can do this. And doing it, you eventually get better. And it's just like a lot of people just, when they get older, there's so many other variables, right? There's more like competition and you compare yourself to other people. But like, I think when you're a kid and you start doing it, it's like none of those voices are there. And you're just like, kind of just like doing it for fun, doing it for yourself. And eventually you do it enough that it just becomes like something that you do, and it's like a skill, and that was kind of my journey, and it's evolved to like I think my best work has been with collaborating with other writers, and so, but yeah.
I mean, you said it perfectly. You start getting a little bit better the more you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll understand what you're like talking about the more
Right.
you're doing it. And Sammy, you mentioned, the lyricism of it, and your guys' songs. I've noticed that you have a way of making these like incredibly vivid descriptions feel unbelievably relatable. Do each of you, or it could be different, could be the same, have a lyric that you are most proud of, or that you really love for that?
Okay, I need Seabass to go
let's go.
first.
Ooh, I mean a lot of them.
Lyric for what exactly? Like
Like a Friends tune?
Yeah, like a Friends tune. That
Actually, you can go last if you need.
I can do a few right now.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, just with the ones that we heard, "Talk It Up." I just think it's such a cool, like, almost mantra. Like, yo, if you're just starting off doing something, like you gotta talk it up. Like you gotta like hype yourself up. And a lot of times, like you're gonna be your best friend. Like in those moments, like no one. If you're starting off in a new scene, you're gonna be the first person that's going for that, and there's no support in the beginning. So you have to be your biggest support. Talk it up. Whatever we feel, like yo, just do whatever you feel.
Yeah.
Like literally, like just be
says in the
you,
name.
be you, vibe. And there is so many songs that really speak on self-love and like hyping yourself up, and that's what's actually because I've recently started getting more into like lyric-based songwriting. It completely inspired by Sam, because I love that stuff. I love self-love stuff, like me.
Of course.
But yeah, those are the first two that come into mind. But there are definitely more. But I want to let them know. I want to hear what y'all
I'm
have.
still thinking, so you have to go now.
Okay.
so it's like what do I find like empowering? Is that the
Yeah,
kind
or
of
like empowering, or just something that like you guys have like crazy good descriptions in these things, but that work for a full audience.
yeah. I think one of Sammy's newer songs, "Closer to You." It's all right.
Yes.
So it's this line towards like I would guess the bridge of the song, where we just repeat over and over again the words "that don't matter anymore," and it's kind of like Sam might have a better description of the song. My interpretation of it is that it's kind of a song about you having a falling out with somebody, and you used to have this whole life with this other person where like you were in their life every day and you were so close and they knew everything about you, but you've gone your separate ways for whatever reason. And all the things that you were holding up, like pent up for all that time, like regrets or whatever, you could get to this point in the song where you just release that and you say, that don't matter anymore. And you say it over and over again. And I think one of my favorite tools of songwriting is repetition.
Oh yeah.
So when you say the same line 15 times, it just gets exponentially more powerful.
Yeah.
And then like the instruments and the arrangement and the drums but grow in intensity too.
It's a real
So,
catharsis.
yeah. And just to speak to like a real life experience of this song, performing it, the last time we played was at a college gig in Western Mass, like a couple of weeks ago, and it was like rainy all day. We had to delay the show. Everything was wet. It was gloomy. It was cloudy. It was cold. And we get on stage, and it's cloudy most of the show. And then we get to the song, and we're playing the song, and it's still cloudy. But then when we get to this part of the song, the sun fully comes
Oh,
out.
help me, God.
Like brilliant, bright sun lit up everything just for this part of the song, and then it went away at the end of the song.
Really?
Yes.
yeah.
It was the trippiest thing ever. It was crazy. So
I was like, God?
if that ain't a sign,
That's some divine
Right.
intervention
Yeah.
right
Right.
there.
It was
so
wild.
that's at least that's the first thing I thought of that really resonates with me. Just like letting go of stuff
good
that
one.
held you back in the past, or grudges or any kind of resentment, stuff that doesn't serve you. So
Yeah, and to add on that, like I just experience it in even somewhat of a more neutral way, where it's like, you know, this friend that I had in high school, like we were hanging out all the time, you know, and because because people change and people are so complex, like maybe we can't really keep in touch anymore, but it's not a bad thing. Like I'm still celebrating them doing whatever they are doing, and I'm sure that they might be celebrating me or maybe not, but like what like during that time being in high school, being friends with them was really important for me. And right now, like being in New York City, like that's what's important for me right now. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I think that that's a really cool sentiment that you kind of get across in
That was the
in the
idea
song,
with this
too.
whole tune, was like when that happens, and maybe it is a falling out, or maybe it's just more growing apart. And how do you like reconcile with this feeling of you were my whole world? Like I
Right.
couldn't move through the world without you, and now you're not even a part of my life anymore. But I'm the best version of myself ever, and you're the best version of yourself ever.
Exactly. Yes.
Is that because of the things we taught
Yes.
each other? Is that because now we're apart from each other? Should I feel guilty about that, or should I just let it happen? Right? How do you make sense of that? That's what this song is about.
Love it.
And it don't matter anymore. Like it don't matter that we have resentment. It doesn't matter that we're angry. It also doesn't even really matter that we were so close.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't even really matter that you loved me that much.
you gotta
Like
just keep moving on.
yeah, you got to
You
keep
gotta
moving
keep
on,
moving
and it's
on.
informed
Forward
who I
momentum.
am today, and it's informed who you are today. But it doesn't really matter anymore because now we're so far apart. And like, I was also thinking a lot about this. Like, I had a couple people in mind when I was writing this song, but then additionally, I had just recently at a festival we were playing. An old hometown friend of mine had come to visit, come to see the show, and I think I had this realization where like he grew up and got everything he ever wanted, which was like to work on Wall Street and be wealthy and live in Manhattan. Now, I never wanted to deal with money. I'm not too concerned about being wealthy, and I hate Manhattan. So I
Can't say that.
I didn't mean to, but I meant it. I didn't mean to say it on the air, but I do mean it. And I live really nowhere, but when I do live somewhere, it's Brooklyn. I'm concerned with the arts, and this is what my life looks like. And we had this conversation where he was like, oh, we're both in New York now. We should hang out. I work 9 to 5, and then I'm free on the weekends. And I was like, oh, well, I work 5 to 9 a.m., and I only work on the weekends. So we have nothing in common. We have no mutual free time. And I had this realization of like, for us to try and bridge the gap between our lifestyles and kind of reconnect and be friends again would be to both of our deficits.
Right.
Like it would take too much effort and
Yes.
too much assimilating and too much like
Yes.
masking and too much
Yes.
pretending to actually try to meet in the middle. And I want you to be full, and I don't have the time to not be full.
Yeah.
So I guess it's okay that we have grown into different people, but
Love
then what does that make? What do I make of that when so much of me was you? You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really complicated,
It's,
isn't
it's
it?
very complicated.
Yeah.
And you've all have put that so well
Thanks.
in this tune.
Oh, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about this
Yeah,
tune.
me
That's
too.
good.
Excellent.
Me
I'm
too.
so glad you guys got the chance to talk about this
Yeah.
tune.
Thank you.
Speaking of that's such a cool. First of all, that's such a cool story about that show.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah,
That
it
is
was weird.
unreal.
I'll never
wild.
forget it.
You guys are getting close to a pretty extensive fall tour coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, it's true.
And in watching a lot of videos of your shows, because I have not yet had the pleasure of seeing you guys live in
Ooh.
person, it just seems like a party. It seems like such it's a collaboration between like you guys on stage and like all of you like working off of each other and like a celebration of music with the audience. What about your like collective and your fan base allows that kind of environment to occur, and how does that make you guys feel as the artists who cultivated that?
Oh my gosh, it's so freeing. It's so freeing. I feel like we've done so much. Like I feel comfortable saying this because I don't feel like I'm hyping anybody up. It's just facts. We are extremely talented musicians
Yes.
as individuals, and and I'm proud of every one of us for that, and we also own that. Like, without throwing in anybody's face, we know that we are some of the killingest players out. You know what I'm saying? And
Talk it
we
up.
work.
Yeah,
Thank
talk
you.
it up. Exactly.
And we spend a lot of energy fine-tuning songs before we go into the studio. There's kind of a couple steps to answer your question of how do we cultivate a fan base like this and how do we cultivate this sort of show that we cultivate. Well, one is everybody is killing and spends their time shedding and working on their own individual instrument. And then we come together and we put a great deal of effort into how the song sounds before we go into the studio. Then we go into the studio, we make a really impressive song, right? And then my mentality is if you're spinning the feeling 15 times a day for 4 years, you know what that sounds like, and you don't need to hear it note for note when you get to the show. What you want to see when you get to the show is how it translates to a live environment. You want to experience how it makes the crowd around, everybody around you feel. You have your own attachment to the song. You want to experience how other people are attached to it, and you want to experience our attachment to that song as it pertains to the current moment. Because just to keep using the feeling as an example, I wrote that song when I was like 19 and I'm singing it in the studio, I'm like 21. And all these years have gone by now and it means something different and it also feels different to perform it and I want to perform it a different way, right? And I think that we have set ourselves up for success in that first step is making a really impressive record and releasing it to the world. The second step is we've come from so many different places trying to get to the city and be in a successful project like this. And we just like exhale gratitude or at least try to say thank you as often as we can and never lose that place of feeling grateful because it could stop at any moment, right? Like it stopped for almost 2 years during the COVID lockdown and we had no idea if we were going to be able to do this thing that we love anymore. And that also has really coming back has informed that gratitude. So kind of step one's making an impressive record and giving it to the world. Step two is making that audience know how much we appreciate the fact that they're listening to us and how much we appreciate the fact that they give us a chance to live our best lives. And then step three is wrap all that up together when we get to the live show. And I'd go as far as to say at that point, it's not about how many interesting notes I can hit. It's not about how killing the solo is. It's about the energy that we bring and what you see exemplified on stage, which is a whole bunch of people who come from all sorts of different backgrounds, different corners of the world. Nobody looks anything like the person next to them, and we're all getting along, and we're all really good friends, and we've like formed this family, right? So my hope is that people can see that on stage and feel inspired to try to do that within their own community, form relationships that are that strong. But you know, to just like kind of button up that, I feel like I need to disclaim that one point that I said where it's not about how killing we sound or how much I sing or anything. It is about that. But also, it's not one show every 6 months anymore. It's not one show in the same city every 3 months. It's 30 shows in 40 days. Traveling, altitude is changing, time zones are changing. We're human beings getting on stage every night, and it's really difficult on the road to keep yourself healthy, keep yourself sleeping, keep the interpersonal, like family dynamics healthy. And I think it's as much about how impressive of the notes are as how much we can just get ourselves at all costs ready to go be fully present and fully grateful for the people in front of us. It's an exchange of energy. And I think they see that. And then at the moment, they immediately exemplify it to everybody else around them. But I'm honored when we get out in front of our audience, and I'm honored when I see how members of this fan community interact with each other online. And we hear this from venue people all the time. I've never been tipped so well. These people are holding doors for each other. They're carrying drinks for each other. Like I'm very, very proud of the community that we've kind of facilitated around us. And I think because we exist in that place of constant gratitude and they like good music and we make good music in the studio, and we just exemplify that kindness. It's no tolerance. We're nice to each other or don't come, you know? So, yeah.
Anything to add, Will, Seabass?
You really...
Yeah, you have to
I think you
rephrase
nailed
you
it.
have to rephrase your question, maybe. I think that I answered a bunch of questions.
I was just so captivated by your answer that I also like, what was the original question?
Yeah, never mind.
Repeat the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
I would love to see if I can add.
You got it. What do you think about like your fan base? Like is able to cultivate that environment, and how does it make you feel being the ones who created that?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I mean, you did say it all very well, but like it's just a hang. Like I after the shows, I really like to meet the fans, and I've never been really disappointed at all. Like it's always been really fun, and just simply put, fun, entertaining, and
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a
to,
party.
Like, yeah, it is
Yeah.
a party. It is a
Yeah.
party, literally every night, and it's fun to like. I look out in the audience. I've said this in the past, but like I look out in the audience and like every single person I make eye contact with, like I actually want to be friends with them. Like not
Right.
to be too much on the nose, but like every single person I make eye contact with, I'm like, love your outfit, love your
Yeah, like,
asymmetrical
work.
earring, love your
Yes,
hair, love your
yes, like-
attitude, love your smile, love the way that you're helping the stranger next to you. I never look out and I never see people tussling. I never see anybody spilling a drink. Nobody's too intoxicated. I never see anybody
Yeah.
starting a fight. I never see any of that. I look
Yes.
out and every single person was like, I want to get to know you better. I would feel safe spending time with you. And that shows. Like they give me that permission. And then because I feel so safe, I'm like rolling around and sweating and like backbending and like making stupid jokes and I look crazy and like I'm really giving my inner child a chance to play. We play very hard. And then in
Yeah.
turn it's a cycle. So because they give me so much permission, I give myself so much permission. That gives them permission and then they give it back to me. If that makes sense. And we all just like think we're a bunch of just like big adults engaging in like adult play. There's bubbles.
Yes.
There's face paint. What are
Yes.
you kidding me? We have a
Yes.
great time.
Yes, we do. Yeah, exactly. All of those things.
It's like the most fun ever. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
Thanks.
Will, anything or
Yeah, no, I think the other thing is like I think we create a really safe space, and we've become known for that. So I think people step into that space, feel free to be whoever they are, and nobody is holding anything back, pretending they should be anybody else other than themselves. And I think that kind of goes into creating that environment where, yeah, people can just have fun, be kids.
Yeah, be
I
kids.
think the whole point of being a musician is just so we could just be kids
Never grow
for the rest of our life.
Never have to get older.
We're being
Ow.
massive children on
Yeah.
stage. We're being
Yeah.
big old
It's
children.
like a
on
Peter Pan
stage.
thing. But
And yeah, that goes to talk about that. Like, it's not just about how killing the music is. Everybody's impressed because the music is killing, but they're also impressed because Seabass is like playing the most interesting rhythm they've ever heard. Sure, but he's playing it on a cowbell with like a pencil in front of the
Yeah,
lead
yeah,
mic,
yeah,
like
yeah.
wearing the kookiest outfit they've ever seen anybody in
Right,
ever,
exactly.
and he's like smiling his face out, and he's got cool blue hair. Like that's why it's great. Like
Yeah,
sure, underneath the
exactly.
music is killing, but
Yes.
also,
Yes.
you know,
the
It-
childlike
it-
element?
I'll say
Just-
less. I'll say less.
Just to like even bring it further back is like again like Sam has created such an environment that like we have become almost like spokespeople to like being yourself like on stage too like
Yeah,
like I just
that's
get
funny.
up there and I literally go like to the lead mic with a cowbell like because Sam lets me do that and it allows me to just fully express myself and I think it also it definitely causes the whole band to feel that way but also the fans too.
Yes.
So it's really cool. It's a safe space, like you said.
That's
Will.
the idea.
Yeah.
This is like I just had this weird like analogy come to my head. But the hope is that because I always also want to push against this like us versus them, like famous people are famous thing. And I don't know that we're famous. We're a little bit famous, a little tiny bit famous. But like if you see your favorite musician ever and you're like, oh my God, I listened to The Good Life. The Good Life changed my life and got me through college and I love your music so much. And then you go to a show and you see that person that you revere so much, like failing to do a cartwheel while their friend is like holding a bubble gun next to them. Imagine the permission that gives you.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And like Seabass like playing whatever he's playing on the cowbell with however he's playing it, however he's dressed, give somebody in the audience who might have a hard time being fully themselves permission to like
right.
go to
Right.
college the next day and be like, I really love bugs. Insects are my favorite thing ever. You know?
Right.
I don't know. That's a random
Right.
analogy that I just came
I
to.
love it.
But
It works. I love it.
I hope that
I'm
people
following you.
if people really dig us that much, they need to know that there's actual people behind the music just trying to be as authentically themselves and continuously grow as they can, and hopefully you come to a show and see that and you catch that vibe and you take it home with you.
We celebrate our friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a celebration.
that's nice.
It's nice. It's
nice.
it's a great space. It's a safe
is
space. And if you're wanting to feel that space in New York,
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, June 15th, SummerStage.
It's literally 2 weeks from
It's 2
today.
weeks from today, as of recording this.
Holy crap.
What are you guys looking forward to about it? How you feeling?
Listen, it's about to be popping. Is all I gotta say.
Oh, is it?
Okay,
Is it
yeah.
now? Any-
all
any
of
teases?
all of my subdivisions are gonna be coming out.
Okay.
Yep. All the polyrhythms. All of them. Just be
It was gonna go
prepared.
crazy.
Okay. Yep. It's gonna be insane.
I'm just so excited to be in New York again.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Truth.
we have gone all over the country, all over the world at this point, and we started in a place where it was only New York. Maybe once a month we would play a show, and 8 out of those 10 shows were on the Lower East Side, and 2 of them were in Brooklyn, and only the Brooklyn people that we knew would come to Brooklyn, and only the Manhattan people we knew would go to Manhattan, and every show was New York, right? And we built such a strong, beautiful fan base, and also because we were in the same city every time, we got this cool opportunity where we got to see people show up with friends. We would see the same faces 2-3 shows in a row, and they weren't like my friend. They were a stranger that had gotten into the music and became a friend because I would see them at every show, and next time they came with 2 people, and then I'd see them again, they'd come with 4 people. So this is where the audience started. And we had this really cool, like, control environment where we could see, okay, in New York, same pool of people, we could sell 100 tickets. And the next show, we could sell 200. The next show, we could sell 350. And the next show, we could sell 1,000. And then eventually it was time to leave. And we didn't know what the demand was going to be like in other states. And not only was the demand so enormous in other states, but the demand also became enormous in different countries. So we've spent the last year touring pretty full time all over the place. And it's always so special to come back to New York because, well, it feels like home because it is home. And still, like T5, we had this moment where we were like, if you were at, Rockwood One, our first show ever, raise your hand.
Oh,
and there were
right.
people that were there, which was
Yeah.
just crazy.
Yeah.
So it's always just so special to play in New York. So special for so many reasons. And also, it's the luxury of your actual friends get to come.
Right.
Yes.
I could play the best show of my life in Seattle, and my neighbor and my bodega guy and my best friend from whatever, they don't get to come see me play in Seattle. They get to come see
exactly.
me play in New York.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's fam. It's all fam.
It's the whole. This is the first time playing in a little over a year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, a
Yeah.
little over a year.
Yeah. Which is crazy to think about because I feel like we've been playing all the time, but
Yeah.
for people here, that's not the case.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's insane.
Starving them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just starving them.
Just starting them until this one
Truly.
moment.
Truly.
Exactly.
Going briefly to just touching briefly on something you posted earlier today, Sammy, about your newest passion project, so to speak.
Ow.
You said, quote, "There's no one way to be queer. There is no industry, no country, and no time period that is not made more vibrant and special by the LGBTQIA+ community. Every human deserves the right to make decisions about their own body and expression." You want to talk about that a little bit? Your newest art shoot, what Pride means to you on this first Happy Pride Month.
Yeah.
Happy
yeah,
Pride.
Happy
June
Pride Month.
1st.
It's June 1st. What a special time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm always kind of as June approaches, I'm trying to figure out what can I say, what can I do with my responsibility of a platform. And a lot of the audience we have are young queer folk. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I feel like I have a bit of a responsibility to make sure I'm making some sort of statement that whenever I speak on anything of significant weight, that means something to them and is important and is going to generate change. And it's been an extremely difficult year for the LGBTQIA community. And I feel like we're in a place where we're making backward steps and we're regressing. And there are so many people who have political views and different sorts of personal views or personal values that conflict with the very existence of queer folk. Queer folk are just trying to walk around and exist. There are trans folks who have their very lives targeted every day. And there are trans youth who are having their access to medical support and emotional talk therapy and all that cut off from them. And additionally, there's been this really intense crackdown on the drag community where for some reason this art form, this expression of gender, which is highly skilled, highly difficult to do, and has been around for hundreds of years all across the globe in all sorts of different cultures. For some reason, 2023, the queens can't go to brunch anymore because it makes certain people who would never be caught dead in that environment anyway uncomfortable. And it's really difficult to kind of wake up and see a really hurtful headline every single day, it feels like. So I wanted to kind of acknowledge what was going on this year, and like, this is what's happening. We need to be aware of this. It's more important now than ever that we keep in mind the trailblazers and the people who have come before us to carve out space for our visibility and fight for our civil rights. There are so many there are femmes and femmes of color and trans individuals who have given their lives for this movement. And I think sometimes we forget about that. So I wanted to acknowledge that. But more than anything, in this really dark time where it seems like we can't get away from all this negativity, I wanted to just go back to queer joy, right? Let's just revel for a second. And I just had this idea that was like, I want to get, and very often with projects, I'm like, I'm going to make a music video and I'm going to really challenge myself. I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to learn how to dance. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to challenge myself. I didn't want to challenge myself, okay? I didn't want to work too hard to do something impressive for Pride Month. I wanted to just go express myself and revel in queer joy and do it surrounded by other queer artists. And I just kind of envisioned these 3 looks that played with gender and joy and texture and color and makeup and drag in ways that hopefully you can just look at one of these pictures and it'll give you pause and make you think for a second. So I've done, there's this one look where I'm in this big gorge, like deep blue ball gown. And if you were to look at that, you go, wow, how femme, how powerful, how woman in power. But then I coupled it with like absolutely no makeup and a ball cap and a pair of socks and a pair of sandals. And I hope that whatever it makes you pause and think about in that moment, you can pause and think about it. And then I did a full hyper feminine, drag beat on my face. A very talented drag queen friend of mine came and shared her talents with me. But I'm in a wig. I'm in like a men's haircut wig and I'm in like a men's outfit. So I don't know. I just wanted to make some art. And more than anything in this really kind of dark time period, I just wanted to revel for a day and give people some queer joy to look at. And hopefully, we haven't forgotten about, being to be queer is to be limitless and is to give yourself permission to express that joy every day, permission to be authentic. So hopefully somebody's going to be scrolling this week and see that and be like, wow, look at that joy. That's a bright spot in the, LGBTQIA headlines this month.
I think that's such a beautiful moment of self-expression and self-identity, of like being able to just like value. Like that's got to be like so great for like self-value.
Oh yeah.
In a way.
Oh yeah.
And just sharing that joy with everyone else. Like that's a beautiful thing you're doing.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
You're giving icon right now.
Thank you, Sivan. Oh my God, Sivan.
Just a couple of rapid fire ones to full circle this.
do
What
it.
can we expect from the group in the next coming months? Possible single, EP, album. Where
Hot
can we see
beats.
The Friends next?
Hot beats.
You can come see the Friends at Central Park SummerStage on June 15th. You can go see us on our world tour, which starts this fall. It is no secret that we are working on an album. We're working on our debut album. It'll be our first full-length LP.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I want to mention that you should not hold your breath, and we are going to take our sweet time working on this project. It already means a great deal to all of us. We're very proud of the way that we've been working on it together. We're very excited to fully envision it, and good things take time. And we're in the kitchen. We're working real hard. We're having a great time, and we can't wait to share it can't wait to share it. It's going to be mammoth. It's going to be
Yes, it
enormous. It's
really
going to be an album.
Yeah.
And we mention that to people sometimes. I was like, oh, it's our first album. And people are like, you have 2 albums out. I'm like, no, we have 2 EPs out.
Right.
We have 2
a
collections of
difference.
5 songs.
It's a difference.
Yeah, we're about to
Right.
drop an enormous piece of, well, we're not about to, but we're working on dropping an enormous piece of work, which we're excited about.
Oh, that's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah, so you can eventually expect that. And you can expect some little teasers as time goes on. We drop little stuff on the Instagram story, so catch it while it's up, because then you never see it again.
Right.
And of course, with any large-scale project like this, we'll be rolling out singles one at a time. And yeah, just keep them peeled, okay? You never know what you're going to get. Something for
Right.
everybody,
your
but you
eyes
never
open.
know what you're going to get.
All right.
Keep them peeled.
Love that. Love
Thanks.
that. Everybody, favorite song to play on stage?
Oh, Follow Me Like the Moon, probably. Yes.
That's tough. That I think you took mine.
Oh,
That's one of my favorites.
snap. I know. It's a good one.
I guess the one we were talking about earlier. I'm enjoying lately. Closer to You.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good one too.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying Closer to You as well, but second place would be Talk It Up. Because
Yeah,
it's
Talk It
really
Up's always fun.
It's really fun,
Yeah, everyone's up
and
there.
the audience loves it, and there's a lot of opportunity for the audience to sing as well, which I love. I love to hear everybody screaming at us. So yeah,
Either individually or for the friends, Dream Collab.
Dream collab.
Oh.
Ooh, individually.
there's a million, so we may as well just go individually.
Rosalia. Yes, if I had to pick one.
Wolfpack,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those guys are pals, and we have collaborated with some of those guys in some capacity. But that was one of those bands that, again, kind of like forefathers, where they were just really being themselves and trying some really quirky, out there stuff that was sticking and attracting the sort of audience that I wanted to be a part of. And I remember being in college and starting to make full band music and taking a lot of pages from their book of like, oh yeah, it's weird, but I love it. So if I be weird, somebody else will love
Right.
it.
Yeah,
They
right,
tried
exactly.
a lot of just interesting recording techniques, interesting ways of writing songs,
Yeah.
interesting ways of having their vocalists sing, interesting sort of subject material. And I would be really honored to be able to make something with that camp.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd say Casey Musgraves.
Hey.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Those are good
It's also
ones.
giving queer icon.
Right.
Those are really, really good ones.
Yeah.
I would love to see a friend song with
All of
each
it,
of those.
all of it.
bands.
Rosalia,
Yeah,
Casey
Rosalia.
Musgraves, Wolfpack, and the
Oh my
Friends.
god.
That would be the craziest song. It would be like a
amazing.
20-minute song
Yeah.
in 7 different time signatures.
We would have to
Exactly.
charge a
Yeah,
great deal of
yeah.
money to come to that festival.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we would. Yeah.
That would be awesome. And a couple for the members of the 203.
Come on
Okay,
now.
the
Oh, let's go.
Connecticut.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
You know.
You know I'm ready.
Go to Lenny and Joe's order.
Go to Lenny and Joe's order. Are you kidding me? The
Whoa.
hot buttered lobster roll.
That is the
Dead.
correct
Oh
answer.
my
Thank
God.
you.
Yeah.
Would you disagree?
No, I would say that or the fried oysters are pretty,
Fried
pretty
oysters
big.
are also pretty clutch.
I
Or the
love
chowder.
I love not knowing.
I was there the
Yeah,
other
you
day.
stay over there. See, he was there
Yeah,
the
this
other
isn't
day.
for you, man.
Yeah, it's not for
This
you.
is not for me.
So
Yeah.
just to
I
catch you
also-
up, if you can't pay attention, or if you can't see what's going on, Will and I are both from Connecticut. We're extremely proud of that. Steve is from Connecticut. Seabass is from Virginia Beach, so whatever. And yeah,
Whatever.
go ahead, ask me about Connecticut again.
Favorite ride at Lake Compounds.
Oh, the
Boulder
mousetrap.
Dash.
Mousetrap, really?
Boulder Dash, huh?
It just
Boulder
got
Dash.
renovated.
Did it?
Yeah.
It did?
Is it
I haven't-
less rickety now?
I haven't been. I think it is. I have not been yet, but I did hear that it just got renovated.
Okay, I'm gonna say mousetrap, which I don't think is I don't think it's real anymore.
I'm not
It was
sure.
like the kids. It was the kids coaster.
It was terrifying.
It was terrifying. It's a metal coaster, and it's like big on the like tight curves and tight turns. And as a kid,
Yeah.
I was still a little afraid of Boulder Dash, so I would ride Mousetrap 1,000 times, and then I was like brave enough to start riding Boulder Dash, and I would still go back and ride Mousetrap until the cows came home.
classic.
But I think now I'm too old for Mousetrap because I would 150% throw my neck out.
It was just so those tight turns were.
Yeah, and they have a beautiful carousel as well.
Well,
Yeah.
Is there a Connecticut staple that you think is underrepresented?
Food, place,
Anything.
the Milford Mall.
Accurate.
understated.
Underrepresented.
The Milford Mall.
Underrated.
Milford Mall has the greatest food court of any of the Connecticut malls.
that
It
is-
also has the best movie theater.
Yes, that movie theater is clutch.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I think it's an AMC. Let me think about one more though, because a whole mall is pretty general.
Understated.
Maybe I should go.
You're,
Like-
you're almost done. You're almost done.
Sorry, Seabass. We
Uh,
appreciate you. You know this.
Listen, I support the 203 love.
Thank you.
A lot of people think that Connecticut is just the state you have to drive through to get to Boston, which it is.
That's what I thought I would.
Literally, it is that. But there's a lot to offer in Connecticut, and there is a lot of beautiful
It is
green
beautiful.
space.
Yeah.
It is
and
beautiful.
State parks.
I was
and-
just gonna say the state parks are pretty. I grew up right on the outskirts of Kellogg State Park, so I grew up like pretty much in the woods. And I think that the Connecticut like wilderness and like forest terrain is super underrated. Beautiful hiking, beautiful
Great
campgrounds,
hiking.
beautiful bodies of water. Yeah, a couple of good mountains. The Connecticut wilderness is pretty underrated. That and the Milford Mall.
And last
to
one,
say.
of course, have to. Peppy Sally's are modern.
Oh my gosh.
Sally's.
Oh yeah.
Pepe's.
This is,
But hold
Team
on.
Sally's.
Hold on,
this is
hold on.
Always the thing.
I want to say two things. I want to say it's interesting that you brought up modern because a lot of people leave her out of the equation.
I feel like it's kind of. I feel like at this point it's pretty much a big three.
Yes, it is that's the big three for sure. I want to say Pepe's, but with a disclaimer. Pepe's makes the best white pie, the best seafood pie in the tri-state area. Come to my house if you disagree. Sally's, I prefer the red sauce though. If you're
Yeah.
going just for like a nonna pie, go to Sally's. And I also want to say, because I learned this recently, this Sally's versus Pepe's rivalry that people talk about, it's not real at all. And the actual history behind it is, if I remember correctly, Frank Pepe was setting up Frank Pepe's, and a nephew, I think he was a nephew or a son-in-law or something, wanted to be a part of the pizzeria business as well. He wanted to be in on Frank Pepe's.
Gotcha.
And Frank said, I can't deal with any more pizza makers. Can't deal with any more members of my family in my kitchen. I got to have my own kitchen. Here's my blessing and here's some money. Go down the street and start your own restaurant.
Really?
If I remember correctly. So
Okay.
I know at the bare minimum for a fact, there was a family member who wanted to be involved with Pepe's. And Frank said no, but gave him his blessing to go open his own franchise.
Wow.
And they're also like down the street from each other.
They're like a block away.
They're literally a
Walking
block.
distance.
Oh,
So
you know.
Yeah.
it's not a rivalry, okay? It's
Oh, it
all
could
it's
be now.
when it's all in the family, okay? New Haven County. When you're here, you're family. All right?
New Haven County is just Olive Garden.
Yeah, it's just the Olive Garden.
It's just
my
the
gosh.
Olive
That's
Garden.
all it is. Also want to say Connecticut has some of the best pizza in the United States. Come to my house if you disagree. Thanks for having us, Steve.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for being here. Will Seabass, Sammy Rae, and the friends, ladies and gentlemen, here in the basement of WNYU. Thank you guys so
Thank you so
much for
much.
coming in.
Well, this was a joy.
Our pleasure.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yes.
Very good to be here.
Thank you, Steve.